Welcome back to another video, and today we got our initial thoughts and reaction. The selection committee has given us our field of 12, as you can see right now, the bracket on the screen. So what this is, it's not going to be a prediction video, but it is going to be first of all, our reaction to each conference championship game. We're going to look at some of the bubble teams that were just left out, give us our thinking on that. Just a reaction to all the seeding and kind of just an in-depth dive, as well as at the end, we're going to compare our preseason 12-team playoff prediction to our, slate, our field of 12 we have now. So, yeah, very exciting video. Our official college football playoff predictions will be next Tuesday. Just kind of wanted to separate the two. But with that being said, if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe. We got college basketball videos every Monday, college football every Tuesday, NFL every Wednesday, NBA every Thursday. And when MLB is rolling, we got that every week as well. So loads of content around here. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, turn on the noties. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. So Clemson ranked number 16, but they're in the field at 10-3. And, I think deservingly so. Yes, they have 3 losses, but they won the ACC. I think it's fair. They beat SMU in a game where they were dominating in the first half. SMU came storming back. Clemson hits a game-winning 56-yard field goal. Good on the Tigers for getting this one done. I mean, they deserved it. They looked like the better team throughout. They started crumbling there at the end. I thought there was a chance maybe, SMU was going to complete the whole comeback and end up winning. I actually thought this game was heading to OT, but the Clemson kicker, an absolute gorgeous kick. He nails it from 56 yards. The Tigers are in the field. Dabo Swinney once again gets the Tigers back into the field. Good for Clemson getting here. But they do have a tough matchup here at Texas. Not an easy game whatsoever. But yeah, winning the ACC definitely, at least I think, deserving of a spot. Now let's go ahead and look at some of these bubble teams. So South Carolina, if you're wondering what the arrows mean, last week I had South Carolina ranked 13 in my rankings. Now they're at 15 in the official rankings. South Carolina didn't expect to get in. We'll kind of breeze through these bubble teams. I didn't expect South Carolina to get in. They were in a competition with SMU, Ole Miss, Alabama. They lost to Alabama and Ole Miss. Their only argument was they did go into Clemson, beat Clemson, who is in the field. They have won 6 in a row against pretty solid teams. I mean, none of those teams are bad. And they're playing their best football right now. That was really their only argument. But with a head-to-head loss to both Ole Miss and Alabama, I didn't really see a realistic path for them to get in. Kind of same thing with Ole Miss here at 9-3, 3 losses. That loss to Florida really just killed their season. They did beat Georgia, and South Carolina, which I guess you could make an argument. But the fact the committee had Alabama ahead of Ole Miss last week, there was no real chance for Ole Miss to get in, as well as Miami was also ahead of them, who, in my opinion, also didn't really have a chance to get in this week. They had a better chance than the past two, just because they're right behind Alabama, but them and Alabama both didn't play. So if SMU were to have beaten Clemson and knocked Clemson out, that spot would have been to Alabama because Alabama was ahead last week. But yeah, Cam Ward, finalist for the Heisman. I don't think he's going to win it, but hey, that's something to be excited about, I guess. But definitely, you wanted to get in the playoffs if you're a Hurricanes fan. Number 12, this is in the rankings. Arizona State did get the 4 seed, but they're ranked number 12. They went out in this Big 12 championship game. I thought this would be a 50-50 game, back and forth, exciting game. Arizona State blew the brakes off of them. Arizona State has now won 6 in a row. They've won 8 of their last 9 games. Arizona State's the hottest team in the country right now. Cam Skattebo, arguably the second best running back in college football. I'd probably give it to him, honestly. Ashton Jeanty is definitely the best, but he is right there. I mean, you got guys like Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, maybe Caleb Johnson from Iowa that are up there, but I'd probably give second place to Cam Skattebo. He is carrying this team Sam Levitt, not to mention, I don't want to take anything away from him. He's been great at QB for them. Yeah, Arizona State looks really good, and they get a first round bye, so it's looking like they're going to have to play Texas, but maybe Clemson can pull off an upset, and but Arizona State definitely deserving to get in after winning the Big 12 at 11-2. Very good team. They're red hot right now. You don't want to play them. The only thing I worry about for Arizona State is they're gonna have to wait 3 weeks to play a game. You got all this momentum. You're the hottest team in the country. You get a 3 week break. Now you could argue this will help them because they'll be well rested. They've played a lot of games back to back. But honestly, if I'm Arizona State, I want to keep going. I want to keep carrying this momentum. So a 3 week break, I worry if that'll affect them. I honestly think it might. That's really the only negative. But if you're an Arizona State fan, you're just happy to be in there as the 4 seed. You get a first round bye. That is just amazing. Nobody thought this was happening for the Sun Devils. Now we got to talk about this. Number 11, Alabama gets left out of the playoffs. 12 teams get in. The committee ranked them number 11. They didn't get in. That is because Arizona State and Clemson got those auto bids for winning their conference championship game. Now, a lot of people are saying Alabama still should have gotten in. They're saying Alabama should have gotten in over SMU. Here's the thing. It's a lose-lose situation. With SMU losing that game, you're not going to win. Either way you look at this, you can think of the committee got it wrong. I'll make the case for Alabama, and then move on to SMU because SMU is right after this. Here's the case for Alabama. First of all, they have a win over Georgia. They have a win over South Carolina. They also have a win over Missouri. They're 3-1 against ranked teams. Their only loss is a 7-point loss on the road to Tennessee. Yes, they have those two unranked losses, but their strength of schedule, I believe, is top 15 in the country. SMU's is not even, I want to say, not even top 50, top 60. They're not even comparable. It's not even close. So Alabama has the strength of schedule. I'm sure they have the strength of record. I mean, only one more loss, but I mean, look at these wins: Georgia, South Carolina, Missouri, LSU at a 30-point win on the road. That's very hard to do. That's the thing for Alabama. The other thing, who's the better team? If you put SMU and Alabama on a football field, neutral site, who's going to win the game? Or I'll say this, who would be favored in that game? I bet you Alabama would be favored by over 7. I'll just leave it at that. I think they would be favored by a pretty significant amount, and I think they'd probably win. I think Alabama is objectively the better team. They're objectively better than SMU. So if the goal is to get the 12 best teams in, they should have put Alabama in. Now, I will say, we're going to move on to SMU. Me personally, I would have put SMU in. I think SMU is more deserving, and, I kind of mix it. I kind of mix resume, eye test, more deserving, who's, objectively the best team. I try to mix everything because if you're only looking one way or another, I mean, you got to mix everything. The problem here, what the committee has done, though, it opens the door for future things like this to happen where you're not getting the 12 best teams in. And I think with this, they have seen the flaws this year. It is the first year in the 12-team playoffs, and I'm not trying to complain. I love the 12-team playoff. This is much better than the 14 playoff. I was always of that, headspace mentality. I wasn't in that group where, it devalues the regular season. Well, no, there's always going to be a debate who's going to get in. So I love the 12-team playoff. Gives more teams the opportunity, and I believe makes more games important because, I mean, you look at, think about this. If this was still a 14 playoff, who would get in? I like to look at that because actually we'll look at that later. I'll bring that up later. I'm getting a little sidetracked. Focusing on SMU though. The thing here is they went 11-1 regular season. First of all, they have two more wins over Alabama. They have one less loss, so that's something they have over Alabama. The other thing is they are ranked ahead of Alabama, and you can make the argument, which it would be true, if SMU opted out of the conference championship game, decided to not play, just took the 11-1 record, SMU would have gotten in over Alabama. So can you fault them for losing that conference championship game when Alabama didn't even play in one? Now, we saw them drop a little, which is fair. They lost the game. The other thing, like I said, I think SMU is more deserving, so I would have put them in. But again, it's a lose-lose situation. The other thing that I find weird, SMU's ranked 11th in the seeding. Clemson's ranked 12th. I know Clemson has one more loss, but Clemson did just literally just beat them. And a lot of people are of the mindset that the conference champions are the top four seeds and then the 12 seed. That's not the case. The fifth highest conference championship, if it's not out of the top 12, like just off of rankings, like if they're higher than 12, they can be at that seed. So I don't really get why Clemson isn't the 11 and why SMU isn't the 12. I feel like people aren't talking about that's kind of weird to me. That kind of stood out right away. I was like, it kind of made me think about it a little more. But yes, I do think SMU is deserving more than Alabama. So ultimately, I think they got it right just off of that decision. But you can make the argument either way. I mean, it does devalue strength of schedule. A lot of people are saying there's no point in scheduling a hard schedule now because if you beat all these bad teams, you're gonna get in. Alabama had a very tough schedule, like I said, top 15 strength of schedule. Lost 3 games, and now they get left out over a team that doesn't have a ranked win. And the two good teams that they've played, BYU and Clemson, they lost both. Their best win is at Louisville. So you can make the argument for both sides, but I would have put SMU in, me personally. But yeah, they have a very tough game going into Happy Valley to play the Nittany Lions, coming off a pretty solid performance against Oregon in the Big Ten Championship game. That's not going to be an easy game whatsoever, especially coming off that loss to Clemson. Moving on, though, to number 9 in the rankings, Boise State, ranked number 9, but they get the 3 seed. Good for Boise. They deserve it. They're 12-1. Only losses on the road by 3 to the number 1 team in the country. Boise's a very good team. Ashton Jeanty, in my opinion, I think if I had a vote, I would vote for him for the Heisman. That's just me. I know him and Travis Hunter neck and neck. Travis Hunter is the favorite. I think he's going to win. Me personally, I would vote for Jeanty if I had to vote. But if you vote for Travis Hunter, no hate whatsoever. I mean, he is a phenomenal player, and he's definitely second place to me. Him and Ashton Jeanty are interchangeable for me. But yeah, Boise State gets in. Good for them. And yeah, very, very impressive season. We'll see what they can do in the playoffs. They got a pretty dominant win. UNLV scored in garbage time. They won 21-7 in the Mountain West Championship game. They get a first round bye. Number 8, Indiana, did not play in the Big Ten Championship game. We kind of figured they were in 11-1. I think they deserve to be in. But again, you can make this argument. Alabama, much better strength of schedule. Alabama has a better strength of schedule than Indiana, SMU, Clemson, Notre Dame, Texas even. I'm sure there's other teams. Those are just the teams off the top of my head. Again, you can make that argument. Just don't, in the non-conference, just don't schedule anyone. that's kind of what Indiana did. Look at their non-conference: FIU, Western Illinois, and Charlotte. I mean, come on. Now they did have a Big Ten schedule. They got a pretty favorable one. Their only tough game was at Ohio State, where they got blown out, but they still get in. I think they're deserving to get in at 11-1. This game is going to be fun. Friday night, Indiana versus Notre Dame. It's an Indiana versus Indiana matchup here. In-state, little rivalry kind of thing in South Bend. This is going to be a fun one. People, I feel like, are overlooking this game. This game is going to be amazing. I'm very excited for this game. Definitely, I could see this one going either way, to be honest. Number 7, Tennessee. Tennessee gets in. We expected this. They stay at the 9 seed. I thought there was a chance they could move up, but honestly, I mean, I probably would have kept them at the 9 seed as well. They got an upcoming game. Tennessee has the hardest path out of any team if they want to win at all. They're going to have to go into Columbus to play the Buckeyes. Then they're going to have to, if they win that game, then they're going to have to go to play number 1 Oregon. Then if they beat them, they will likely have to play Texas. And then if they beat Texas, there's a good chance they have to play Georgia. So Tennessee has the hardest path out of anyone to win the national title at that 9 seed. Definitely a tough spot to be in. But I think there's definitely a real chance they could beat Ohio State. That one's another 50-50 one for me. Number 6 is the aforementioned Ohio State. Missed out on the Big Ten championship once again after the embarrassing loss to that team. Yeah, not. It's. We're not gonna. I'm not gonna rant about that. We did that. We've done that plenty of times. But yeah, Ohio State gets in. I think deservingly so. The thing I want to talk about with Ohio State is at 10-2. How can you rank a team like Penn State ahead of them? Both with 2 losses. Ohio State went into Penn State. It wasn't in the shoe. They went on the road and beat Penn State. I know Penn State played in the Big Ten Conference Championship game. I know. But I don't know. That felt a little weird to me. I thought if Penn State won that game, Ohio State would move up to 7. I don't know. Another thing about this that sucks. Actually, I'll save that as well. A lot of things I'm saving for when I get to those teams. Number 5 in the rankings is Notre Dame. They get the 7 seed though. They pretty much just got punished for not being in a conference, which I think is fine. But I don't know. I mean they don't have a ranked one either. And they have a loss to Northern Illinois, who finished 6th place in the MAC. I mean, that is ridiculous. That is a horrible loss. Definitely the worst loss of any playoff team. But they are 11-1. They have won out since that game. And they get a little Indiana battle against the Hoosiers in the first round as the 7 seed. So Notre Dame definitely intriguing, to say the least. They're in not a bad spot at all, especially with Georgia already confirming that Gunnar Stockton is going to be playing in that first playoff game against either the Fighting Irish or the Hoosiers. Number 4 in the rankings is Penn State. They got the 6th seed, though. That should be read. They did not beat Oregon. Apologize for that. Yeah, they lost to Oregon 45-37. Honestly, though, I was pretty impressed. They looked pretty good. They kept up with Oregon. They had a drive there to go in and tie the game. They did throw the pick, but Penn State was in it with Oregon. Really impressive showing. I did not expect Penn State to keep it this close. I thought it'd be close early, but I thought Oregon would run away with it. They really didn't. I mean, Penn State kind of clawed back, honestly. So yeah, pretty impressive showing for Penn State. But again, I kind of touched on this. How do they rank Penn State ahead of Ohio State? Maybe I'm biased for that just because I'm an Ohio State fan, but Ohio State beat them, and they have the same number of losses. And again, I know they're trying not to punish the conference championship game losers, but honestly, I feel like they're valuing it too much. I feel like they're almost giving them too much of a benefit because, like, they still lose the game. I know they other teams didn't even make it, but they still lost the game. I maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong here. Um, Same thing with Texas getting the 5 seed. Um, Look at this resume. They don't have a ranked win as well. I mean, I know the Michigan game was ranked at the time, but they're not ranked anymore. They're not even close to being ranked. They're 7-5. Vanderbilt was also a ranked win at the time, I believe, but they're not ranked. Texas A&M was a ranked win at the time, but they're not ranked as well. The two ranked games they've had, or the two games they've had against currently ranked teams, they lost both times. It was against Georgia twice. Now this last game, they were in it. They looked pretty good. So honestly, the Texas ranking is eye test. This is the problem with the committee. They pick and choose where they want to go because Texas is clearly eye test. Why they're at the 5. I mean, because Texas's resume is not better than Penn State's. Texas's resume is not better than Ohio State's even. Ohio State probably has a better resume than Penn State, Notre Dame, Texas. Um, I mean, is Texas's resume might not even be better than Tennessee's. So that says something. This is again, this is the problem with the committee. They pick and choose because this ranking is off eye test. The SMU over Alabama ranking, they just disregard resume completely because Alabama clearly has them there, and they look at who's deserving. Then they got to go, oh, you're the conference, you played in the conference championship game, you did lose, but we're not going to drop you too much. So that's why Notre Dame gets dropped. They've been at what feels like waiting to get that 5 seed for weeks now. And now with Texas and Penn State losing, you feel, okay, we're going to get that 5, and then they drop to 7. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things to complain about. There always is. But Texas plays Clemson first round at home. Good spot to be in. The 5 seed everyone's been saying is where you want to be, and Texas did get it, so that's definitely good for them. Georgia at the 2, ranked 2, and at the 2 seed. They went out and beat Texas. I think this is fine. Georgia's deserving of the 2 seed. I really don't have much to complain about here. Same thing with Oregon. Clearly the number 1 team right now. 13-0. Yeah. They haven't lost. They have a win over Ohio State. They have a win over Penn State. Good enough for me. Also, a win over Boise State. Yeah, Oregon, no questions asked. Number 1 team. They've shown they can win defensive games. They've shown they can win high-scoring games. They've blown out pretty much everyone they played, except for Boise State, who is a playoff team, Ohio State, who is a playoff team. Wisconsin was a struggling game, but that's the only one they've had this year. And then this Penn State game, they were leading the entire time. So Oregon wins the Big Ten in their first year. Good for Dan Lanning and the Ducks. Now let's go ahead and have a little bit of fun. Actually, real quick, let me talk about this. Oregon, I kind of touched on this earlier, that they're overvaluing the fact that you made your conference championship game and giving you, a benefit for playing in it just to lose, because that's what they did with Penn State. Penn State got the 6 seed. Again, I don't know how you rank Penn State ahead of Ohio State. Honestly, I don't know how you rank Penn State maybe even ahead of Notre Dame. Now that one's a little different, but the committee has, with the fact that they're trying to value the making the conference championship game so high, they've decreased the value of winning the conference championship game, because now you look at an undefeated Oregon team who's looked like the best team in the country the entire year. I mean, they've been ranked number 1, I believe, the past 7 weeks, if that's not correct. I think it's the past 7 weeks. Or maybe even 8. They win the Big Ten. They're undefeated. Oregon has a harder path than Penn State does, who lost to them. They have a harder path than Texas does, who lost their conference championship game. And Oregon won their conference championship game. So is that how we're really gonna do this? I mean, it. See, like you can nitpick here and there, but I feel like that's an actual thing to talk about. I mean, you're the number one team. You're supposed to have the easiest path to win it all. Oregon has, besides Ohio State and Tennessee, who Oregon will have to play the winner of that. Besides Ohio State and Tennessee, Oregon has the toughest path to get in the playoffs because they're going to have to beat either Ohio State or Tennessee. Then they're going to likely have to beat Texas and then potentially have to beat Georgia. I mean, I think, like I said, I think they have the third hardest path to win the Natty. So I don't know. You can nitpick here and there, but now let's get into the a little bit of a fun thing to look at. This is my preseason prediction from earlier this season. So let's go ahead and show the teams. So these were my conference championship picks. I had Georgia winning the SEC, got that one. Ohio State did not win the Big Ten, unfortunately. Utah, not only did they not win the Big 12, they didn't even come close to making the playoff. Florida State, that was not a great prediction on my behalf. 5 seed I had Oregon, so, not bad. 6 seed I had Texas, again, not bad right there. Ole Miss did not make the playoffs, unfortunately for them. I did have them as the 7 seed. 8 seed I had Penn State, that's fine. Penn State got in the 6 seed. 9 seed Alabama, one of those bubble teams with Ole Miss. That's not terrible. Missouri, definitely a huge miss there. Definitely one of the bigger misses. Definitely a disappointing season from the Tigers. 11, I had Miami. Again, right there. I mean, they were in the playoff picture for pretty much the entire year. The 12 seed I had Boise. They were the group of 5 team I had getting in, and they got in. So let's look at this. So I got the SEC champ right. I got the group of 5 team right. I got Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon. So that's 3. Texas got in 4. Penn State got in. And then Boise. So I had 6 of the 12. So that's really not great, actually. But I know. It's a preseason prediction. Let's see who I had winning. So I had Alabama beating Penn State, Oregon beating Boise, Ole Miss winning, and Texas winning. Then in the semis, I had Alabama over Georgia. Interesting. I had Oregon, Alabama, Oregon, and then Ohio State, Texas. 3 out of those 4 teams are arguably, honestly, I think 3 out of those 4 teams are top 5 in the country right now. So that's not a bad prediction. I had Oregon and Ohio State playing in the national championship game, which is not going to happen. That could be a second round game. And I had Ohio State winning. Again, you could call me biased, but preseason, I mean, come on. I still do believe they have the best roster in the country. Now let's look at the official bracket. So this is how it's looking right now. I don't know why Ohio State was invisible there. This is how it's looking right now, though. And yeah, I mean, you look at the bracket, there's definitely some clear flaws. I pointed out the Clemson thing being behind SMU. That's not really that big of a deal. Just some food for thought. The clear thing here is the conference championship winners, I don't believe, should get that coveted first round bye. I think they should get an auto bid, but I think they should just seed the field. They should seed the field 1 through 12, give the conference champion winners an auto bid, and if they're not inside the top 12, then just put them at 12. That would be much easier. I think that's fair, because people say, well, that devalues the conference championship game, but it really doesn't. I mean, you win the game, you get an automatic spot in. What I think we're going to see in a couple years, we're going to see a 14-team playoff. We're going to see a guaranteed. This is what, at least what I believe. we're going to see a 14 team playoff. We're going to see the Big 10 get 4 teams in. We're going to see the SEC get 4 teams in. And then we're going to have the ACC Big 12 group of 5. That's 11 spots, and then there's going to be 3 wild cards, I guess you could call them. I think that's what we're moving for. We're going to have 2 first round byes. Those will go to the Big 10 and SEC winners, which honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I feel like 12 is a good number. 14 feels like a bit much. I mean, I'm here for it. It's more playoff games. It makes more games mean more. But we can't keep expanding it. I mean, because if we get 14, then down the line, it might turn into 16. And then, so yeah, I do worry about that a little bit. I honestly like the number 12. I don't mind 14. I actually was, when this was originally a concept, I was actually for the 14 team playoff over the 12 team. I don't know. I mean, if they do end up doing that, now this is all hypothetical, but I feel like it is probably going to happen. I've heard lots about it. But yeah, like I said, I mean this really sucks for Oregon. They got screwed. I mean, the number 1 team in the country, they have one of the hardest paths to win it all. Penn State has an easier path than them. Texas does. Those teams both lost their conference championship game, and that kind of gets into what I was talking about, where the conference championship losers almost have a easier path than the conference championship winners. So by them overvaluing it for the losers, it actually undervalues them for the winners, because it pushes a lot of those really good teams back down the rankings even further, and then it gives the higher seeds tougher matchups. But yeah, just looking off this, I think Texas Clemson will be fun. That's 2 huge programs. Penn State and SMU, interesting game. I'll say that. Notre Dame, Indiana, maybe the most fun first round game. I mean, it's 2 Indiana schools. That Friday night, that's going to be a great game. People are overlooking that. And then obviously the best first round game, no question. Objectively, it is Ohio State playing against the Volunteers at home. It's going to be a great game. It's definitely going to be interesting to see, how these teams come out, and how they come out ready to play. I mean, another story: Georgia without Carson Beck for at least that first quarterfinal game. It might be longer. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it is longer. That's a huge blow for Georgia. I will say, everyone's saying it is a huge blow, and I would agree. I think they'd rather have Carson Beck in there. But honestly, in that SEC championship game, Gunnar Stockton didn't look much different from Carson Beck. You can make the argument he even looked better. I really didn't notice a difference. I mean, obviously I knew he was in the game, but watching it, it felt like the same Georgia team. So that's something. I mean, they have Kirby Smart. He's the best coach in the country. They have one of the best teams in the country. I mean, you see this. They won the SEC, which is the best country, not the best country, the best conference in the country. And they have one of the most talented rosters. So Georgia, that's definitely a storyline. Yeah, I feel like we touched on everything. This is kind of getting a little long for just a reaction to the rankings. I feel like I did a pretty good job. So that is going to do it for the initial thoughts and reactions. Like I said, the playoff prediction video will be next Tuesday. I kind of wanted to spread these 2 out because I wanted I wanted to have just, some ranting to do. So I figured we got 2 weeks till the playoffs. So I figured why not just split them up, have this one come out this Tuesday, and then the bracket predictions coming out next Tuesday. So that is what you can expect later this week. Wednesday, NFL picks. Thursday, NBA playoff watch. Potentially, I'm not sure if I'm going to do one this week. And then Monday, college basketball, Power 40. We already did that. Make sure you go check those out. Speaking of that, make sure you check out the 2 most recent videos popping up right now. Turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever we post. Like this video if you enjoy. Comment down below your thoughts and reactions to the rankings. And yeah, I think that's going to do it. Links in the description as always. X, Twitch, TikTok, Discord. Make sure you follow those, join those. But with all that being said, thank you for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow with our NFL picks.